The Texas Revolution by Devin, Mara, Anna, Alec, and Flory.
Mexico was part of Spain. Moses Austin asked for permission to start a colony in Tejas, and Spain agreed. In 1821, Stephen Austin, Moses' son, arrived in Tejas. A little while later, Mexico gained independence from Spain, so Moses' land grant was worthless. Tear. Stephen had to go to Mexico City to persuade the Mexican government to let him start his colony he later named Texas. They allowed him to begin his colony, and pretty soon Americans outnumbered Tejanos 6-1. Tejanos are people of Spanish heritage who consider Texas their home. After a while, Americans and Tejanos weren't getting along very well. Americans resented following Mexican laws after governing themselves for so long. They weren't happy either because of that all the official documents were in Spanish, which they couldn't read, by the way.
Slavery was also outlawed in 1829 and resulted in making slave owners become batty beyond their wits. They turned cuckoo after they realized that without slaves, they would actually have to pay people to do labor. Not just Americans were outraged either. Tejanos found Americans were hard to live with. Tejanos thought that Americans felt that they were superior and deserved special privileges when Mexican officials arrived in Texas. They were not happy fellas.
The Mexican officials warned the government that they should take action because Texas could throw the whole nation into revolution. After their warning, the Mexican government did three humongous things. First, they required Texans to pay taxes. Second, they closed Texas to further American immigrants. And third, they sent more Mexican troops to Texas. Texans were more antagonized than ever before. They started talking about breaking away like a jigsaw puzzle. So in 1833, Austin went to Mexico City with a petition of reforms by both Americans and Tejanos. The president of Mexico, Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, agreed to most of the reforms. But after he learned of a letter that said Austin would support breaking away if the changes were not approved, and put the poor man in jail for an entire year. Tear. Austin's imprisonment made Texans, yeehaw cowboy, so angry that some people say steam was coming out of their ears. Many Texans wanted to rebel after Austin went to jail, so Santa Anna sent more troops to Texas.
In September of 1835, Mexican soldiers marched to the town of Gonzales to take a cannon used by Texas for protection against Native Americans. Texans had hung a flag on a cannon saying, quote, "Come and take it," but the troops have failed to get it. A couple of months later, Texans drove Mexican troops out of an old mission called the Alamo. Santa Anna was outraged, so he and 6,000 troops headed to Texas. Texans met to talk about what to do, and Sam Houston, the only one with military experience, was put in charge of the Texas Army. On February 23, 1836, Santa Anna's troops surrounded the Alamo. Bam! The Alamo's defenders held off the Mexican attacks for 12 days. On the 13th day, 1,800 men from Santa Anna's army stomped all over the fortress. In the middle of the battle, it became strangely quiet because Texans had run out of ammunition. All of the Texans were dead except the 5 that were later executed at Santa Anna's command. However, some women and children weren't killed and the Battle of the Alamo was over. Santa Anna wouldn't give up, though. Sam Houston sent a message to the men at Goliad warning them to retreat. Anna's army captured and executed more than 300 men anyways. When Santa Anna caught up with Houston, the Texans advanced on the Mexican army with rifles ready, racing forward, screaming, "Remember the Alamo!" and "Remember Goliad!" The Texans killed half of the Mexican army after only 18 minutes of fighting. Santa Anna was forced to sign a treaty giving Texas freedom.
In September of 1836, Texans raised a flag with a single star and became known as the Republic of Texas. The president turned out to become Sam Houston. Texas didn't want to be independent for very long. They wanted to be part of the United States. In 1836, the Texas government asked Congress to have the Republic of Texas be annexed. Northerners didn't want Texas to become a part of the U.S., because they thought Texas would become a slave state. People of the North despised the idea of slavery expanding, or even to have the number of slave states to outnumber free states. They also thought Texas would lead to war with Mexico, so Congress voted against annexing Texas, and it remained independent for almost 10 years after its refusal.